I lied on my resume. Now I'm CEO for a company that doesn't exist.
Okay, so I'll be the first to admit I was not in a good place when I applied for the job. I'd just been laid off from my third customer service gig in a row, not my fault, I swear. Long story involving a stapler and a very sensitive regional manager, rent was overdue, and my fridge held nothing but mustard packets and sadness. So when I saw the job posting, operations coordinator at Dynasphere Corp, fast-paced, growth-focused, entry-level position, I went full send. Problem was, the posting required a strong background in logistics, 3+ years experience, and working knowledge of SAP systems. I had, let's just say, a weak background in alphabet soup and exactly zero idea what SAP was. But I figured if I could BS my way through customer complaints for 3 years, I could BS a resume. So I did. I added fake jobs at fake companies, shout out to Northbridge Consulting and Hypernext Solutions, completely made up.
I even created a fake reference named Linda who I pretended to be via Google Voice. Linda was very supportive. 2 days later, I got a call. Some guy named Reggie from HR said I had exactly the kind of experience Dynasphere needs right now. No interview. No background check. Just, can you start Monday? Like they were desperate. And I was, too. First day on the job, I showed up in my only button-down shirt, the sleeves still smelled faintly of tequila from a wedding 6 months ago, and expected to be handed some folders or a training video or anything normal. Instead, a woman in a navy power suit with no name badge walked straight up to me, handed me a keycard, and said, "The board wants to meet you. You're being fast-tracked." Me, fast-tracked to what? Her, to CEO. I actually laughed. Like, out loud. But she wasn't joking. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Dynasphere needs leadership. You're not here to do, you're here to decide." I hadn't even figured out what the company did yet. And here's the thing, I'm not entirely sure anyone else knows either. So yeah. That happened. The woman, who I later learned was called Serena, didn't wait for a response. She spun on her heels and strode down the hallway like someone used to walking ahead of important people. I followed, mostly because I had no idea what else to do. Dynasphere's office didn't look like a startup. It looked like a movie set designed by someone who'd never worked in an office. Everything was too clean. Too symmetrical. Rows of white desks with no clutter. No mugs. No family photos. No post-it notes or dual monitors or sad little succulents struggling to live. Just minimalist sterility and people walking very fast with clipboards but never actually writing anything. We entered a boardroom the size of my entire apartment. Inside were 5 people, all older, all in suits, all with the kind of faces you couldn't quite remember after looking away. They didn't introduce themselves. No one smiled. One of them, a man with silver hair and a voice like he'd swallowed gravel, leaned forward and said, "Welcome, Mr. Calhoun. We've reviewed your background. It's exactly what we've been looking for." I felt my soul physically leave my body for a moment. "Right," I said, trying to sound CEO-ish. "Glad to be here. So, what does Dynasphere actually do?" There was a pause. Long enough that I thought I'd just ended the whole charade. Then another board member said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, "We optimize deliverables through decentralized synergy." What? Right, of course, I replied, trying to play it cool while frantically searching my brain for what that even meant. They nodded in approval. "We'll handle the day-to-day. Your role is vision," Serena added. "We need a face. Someone who can speak in meetings, approve strategies. Nothing complicated. Just presence." They handed me a folder labeled Q3 Projections. Inside were 6 blank sheets of paper. "Any questions?" Gravel voice asked. I had a million, but I just shook my head. "Good," he said. "Then you'll be ready for the Zurich call tomorrow." Zurich? I didn't even know what time zone that was. In the elevator down, I finally asked Serena, "Are you sure I'm qualified for this?" She looked at me, unreadable, and said, "We checked. you're exactly who you say you are. But I wasn't. And when I tried to Google Dinosphere that night, nothing came up. Not even a website. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at my ceiling, phone in hand, refreshing Google over and over like the internet would suddenly decide Dinosphere was real if I just tried hard enough. But no website, no LinkedIn page, no Glassdoor reviews, not even a Reddit post complaining about them. The only hit I got was a blurry listing in a business registry that just said Dinosphere Corp, status, active, classification, undefined. No contact info. No address. Just an ID number. What kind of company has an undefined classification? At 6:41 a.m., I got a calendar invite from E. Richter titled Zurich Strategic Alignment, Mandatory. Location, Virtual HQ Level B3, Secure Net. What the hell was Level B3? I didn't even know we had a basement. Still, I showed up. I figured if I could survive 3 years of customer service rage criers and printer errors, I could survive whatever this was. When I scanned my badge at the main elevator, it lit up red. Then I tried the side elevator, the one marked Facilities Only. It pinged green instantly. It took me down 7 floors. The doors opened into a room that looked like a cross between a server farm and a meditation spa. Blue glow lights, white chairs, and a single glass conference pod in the center. Inside were 3 screens, already on. No people. Just video feeds. Each screen showed a person in a gray room, faces obscured by shadows, like they'd deliberately lit themselves to look like witness protection informants. One of them spoke, in a voice scrambled by a modulator. Mr. Calhoun, we understand you've acclimated well. Let's begin with a simple question. I nodded, heart thumping like a microwave full of forks. What is Dinosphere's primary product? I froze. I could feel sweat creeping down my back. But I remembered Serena's line. So I repeated it, word for word. We optimize deliverables through decentralized synergy. There was silence on the line. Then a voice said, correct. Correct? That's not an answer, that's corporate gibberish. What even is a deliverable? A pizza is a deliverable. Then another voice spoke. Good. We'll proceed with Level 2 integration next week. Until then, maintain continuity. Appearances are everything. The screen shut off. The elevator behind me dinged. I left with more questions than I came with. But that night, something else happened. A deposit hit my account. $37,000. Labeled simply, Q1 compensation. I stared at it for 10 minutes straight. Because here's the thing. They were paying me more money than I'd ever seen, to be the CEO of a company that doesn't seem to do anything. And I think I'm being watched. I spent most of the next morning trying to convince myself this was just a weirdly secretive startup with bad branding and over-the-top corporate culture. I mean, yeah, the elevator to a glowing sub-basement was sketchy. And sure, the mystery board of voice-modulated Zoom ghosts felt more Cold War than quarterly planning. But $37,000 in my bank account was the most convincing argument I'd ever heard. Still, I started noticing things. For one, no one ever used names. Like, at all. Everyone called each other by vague job functions: ops, strategy, comms. Even Serena, who seemed like the closest thing to a real human there, would say things like, legal wants a brief on Zurich, or facilities ping me about the west stairwell lights again. No one had a desk phone. No one even had personal email addresses. Just strings of random letters like dsh14@dinosphere.local. And the office didn't have a kitchen. Let me repeat that, no break room. No fridge. No coffee machine. I asked someone from finance if there was a microwave somewhere. He just looked at me like I'd spoken another language and said, "We don't encourage extended idling." What the hell does that even mean? Around day 6, I decided to do something stupid. I stayed late. The office clears out fast at exactly 5 p.m. Every day. Like, synchronized evacuation. By 5:07, it's a ghost town. So I waited in the bathroom stall until I was sure everyone had left. Then I wandered. First thing I noticed? The doors that are usually locked with those little red badge scanners started glowing green automatically. I didn't even swipe anything. Second thing? I found a hallway that wasn't on the map Serena gave me. It led to a small room filled with filing cabinets. Actual paper files. Rows of them, labeled by what I think were years, but the numbers were strange. Like 1989A, 1991 Delta, and 2023X. I opened one. Inside were black and white photos. All of the same man. In suits. Standing in front of different company logos. Dynasphere. NextGen Analytics. Verifold Systems. QuantPort Integrated. The names changed. But the man didn't. Same smile. Same eyes. Always in the center. And then I found one more photo labeled just Calhoun. My last name. It was me. Or someone who looked just like me. Same face. Same build. Standing in front of a Dynasphere sign. Only this photo was dated 1998. I was 6 years old in 1998. I wish I could say I calmly closed the file drawer and walked out like a professional. I did not. I knocked over the entire cabinet. The metal clanged so loud it echoed like a gunshot. Papers spilled everywhere, the photos, strange charts, documents in code or maybe another language entirely. I didn't even try to pick them up. I bolted. I didn't stop until I was back in the elevator, jamming the button for the ground floor like it owed me money. When the doors closed, I felt this weird shift in pressure, like my ears popped, and for a second I swear the lights flickered blue, not white. By the time I got outside, the office building looked different. I know that sounds insane, but it did. The signage for Dynasphere wasn't lit. The glass windows reflected the street wrong, like the cars were driving backward, or slower than real time. The sidewalk was empty. No traffic noise, no footsteps. It was like someone had paused the world for a moment, and I had stepped into the glitch. Back at my apartment, I stared at the photo I'd grabbed. Yeah. I took it. I panicked, okay? It was me, no doubt. Maybe late 20s, same hairline, same birthmark near my eye. But the photo was old. Faded. The kind you'd find in a dusty shoebox in your grandmother's attic. And on the back, someone had written in looping, perfect cursive. Unit 7B, approved for continuity role. What the hell was Unit 7B? Was I Unit 7B? I barely slept again. When I got to work the next morning, Serena was waiting at my desk. She looked calm. Too calm. Rough night? She asked. I froze. Why would you say that? She smiled politely, like it was just a greeting. You missed your briefing. I thought it was rescheduled? It wasn't, she said. But that's okay. The board understands. Then she leaned in a little, dropped her voice. Just be careful where you wander, okay? Not every hallway is meant for executives. She straightened, handed me a folder labeled Zurich Prep, Level 2, and walked away. Inside the folder was a single sticky note. It said, "You've done this before. Please don't make us reset again." I didn't go home that night. Not out of some brave CEO sense of duty, I was scared to sleep. Scared that if I closed my eyes, I'd wake up somewhere else. Or not wake up at all. Instead, I stayed in the Dynasphere breakless, microwaveless, soulless office. If you could even call it that. I camped out in a corner booth in the client impression lounge, what normal people would call a waiting room, trying to wrap my head around everything. The photo. The reset note. The fact that I might be Unit 7B, which sounds less like a person and more like a printer. I plugged my laptop into the wall, but no internet. Of course. Their network wasn't even on a real domain, everything was .local or had weird back-end routing paths. My phone had no bars, even though I was in the middle of downtown. But I had a plan. There was one name I hadn't dared follow up on until now. E. Richter. The name from the Zurich invite.
The only person in this whole place whose name sounded remotely human.
I used a little trick from my customer service days. Open the company email directory, Dynasphere called there's the comgrid, search just a first initial and a last name, and boom. I found one result, Erichter at dynasphere.local. No photo. But it showed a department, infrastructure memory. I don't even know what that means. I sent a message anyway. Subject, inquiry. Message, hi, just wanted to follow up on the Zurich meeting notes. Can you confirm your role in IM? Calhoun. 2 minutes later, I got a reply. There is no Zurich meeting. You're experiencing bleed. Bleed? I was about to reply when another email landed, instantly. Delete this message. Shut down your terminal. Walk away. No signature. No nothing. I shut my laptop. Heart pounding. That's when I noticed it.
One of the art pieces on the wall, a glass panel that looked like abstract corporate nonsense, was flickering.
Like an old monitor. I got closer. Realized it was a monitor behind polarized glass. It showed a grainy black and white hallway. The feed shifted every few seconds to a different hallway. Then a stairwell. Then a break room. The break room. We didn't have a break room. Except, on the feed, there it was. A room full of coffee mugs. A fridge. Even someone sitting at a table eating what looked like ramen. Just, casually existing. I'd never seen this person before. And on the wall behind them was a sign. Verifold Systems. That company from the photo drawer. The one with my doppelganger. Except Verifold wasn't supposed to exist anymore. I watched the screen until it blinked away. One moment, there was a full break room with a person slurping noodles beneath a Verifold Systems sign. The next, static, then a new hallway, fluorescent lit and empty, labeled NextGen Analytics, Sublevel 3. Another company. Another one from the drawer of old photos. Another that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. And I swear, for half a second, the camera feed flicked to a view of me. Sitting in the client impression lounge, staring at the screen. But it wasn't a live feed. Because the version of me on the screen? He was wearing a suit. I was in a hoodie and jeans. I don't remember deciding to do it. I just got up and walked. Back to that hallway. Past the door with the blinking scanner. It didn't resist this time, it opened silently. Beyond it? A service stairwell. Concrete. Industrial. Unmarked. I started going down. Floor by floor, no signage, just the hum of unseen electronics and the soft whine of fluorescent tubes. It felt like walking into an unfinished part of a building, but every inch was spotless. On the third sublevel, I found the door. It looked like a standard break room door. Cheap wood. Steel handle. Nothing dramatic. But the second I opened it, I realized two things. It was the room from the monitor. The person inside looked exactly like me. He was still sitting at the table, casually eating ramen from a styrofoam cup. Same face. Same nose. Same birthmark. Same everything. He looked up, totally unfazed. Oh, he said. Guess they didn't finish the reset after all. I just stood there. He nodded at the chair across from him. Might as well sit down. You'll glitch out if you try to run. My mouth was dry. Who are you? I'm Calhoun, he said. Unit 7B. Just like you. No, I said. I'm Calhoun. He smiled. Sure. Until the next audit. I didn't sit.
I backed away, heart hammering, hand fumbling for the door. As I pulled it shut, he called out.
Ask Serena about the failover. That's what triggered it last time. I ran.
All the way back up, back to the glass and white office floor, which now felt more like a set than ever.
Like none of it was meant to be real for too long. And when I got back to my desk, Serena was already waiting there. No smile this time. She just said, "You weren't supposed to find him." I didn't say anything to Serena. Not at first. Because what do you even say when someone tells you you weren't supposed to find him? What I wanted to say was, who is he? What the hell is this company? Am I real? But all that came out was, I didn't mean to. She didn't respond.
Just walked past me, tapped a few things on a glass tablet I'd never seen before, and murmured, initiating failover protocol.
Reset threshold not yet breached. I didn't know what that meant. But I knew it sounded bad. Later that day, I tried to act normal. Sat at my desk, which I now realized wasn't wired to anything. Opened folders, still blank. Nodded at people in the hallway who looked at me like I was a screensaver they forgot to turn off. But inside, I was spiraling. At 4:58 p.m., Serena reappeared.
The board's requesting a private session, she said.
Sublevel B3. Immediately. I followed.
Because I'd gone too far down the rabbit hole to stop now. Back in the glass pod, same room as before, the screens flickered to life.
Same shadows.
Same voices, modulated into those metallic, not quite human tones.
Only this time, they didn't ask questions. They issued a directive. You've encountered a legacy unit. A redundancy.
This is not uncommon. You were selected for continuity.
Your presence stabilizes the framework. There cannot be two active Calhounds. Proceed with reintegration. Reintegration?
I opened my mouth, but one of the voices cut me off.
Compliance is essential. Resistance causes bleed. And then, one final message flashed across the center screen. Would you like to overwrite previous instance? Options appeared. Yes, no. I stared at it. I swear I could hear my own heartbeat.
And then, without touching anything, the cursor moved on its own.
Hovered over yes. Paused. Clicked. I blacked out. Not fainted. Not fell asleep. Blacked out. One blink I was in the glass room. The next I was at my desk. Serena was handing me a coffee.
You're looking sharp today, Mr. Calhoun, she said with a smile.
Zurich is already on the line. Shall I patch them through? I didn't know what day it was. I didn't even remember getting dressed. But the monitor in front of me said, Dynasphere Corp internal dashboard. Welcome, Executive Calhoun, instance ID 7B.1. And on my desk sat a single folder. No label. Just a sticky note that read, Continuity preserved. So here I am. CEO of something that still doesn't exist on Google. Living in an apartment I don't remember leasing. Making decisions I don't remember understanding. And every time I look in the mirror, I have to ask, did I overwrite him? Or was he overwriting me?